So we'll go to the next one here, Job 36, 28, and 29.
All right, Masoretic text says, which the clouds do drop and distill upon man abundantly. Also, can any understand the spreading of the clouds or the noise of his tabernacle?
All right. The Septuagint says, the ancient heavens shall flow, the clouds overshadow innumerable mortals. He has fixed a time to cattle, and they know the order of the rest. Yet by all these things your understanding is not astonished, neither is your mind disturbed in your body. And though one should understand the outspreading of the clouds or the measure of his tabernacle.
Okay. There's a little more detail there, a little more description with the creation model.
Yeah.
So this is Eliah. If I'm remembering correctly, this is Eliyahu. I can't say his name right, unfortunately.
Elihu?
Speaking, this is who's talking, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe so. Job 36.
So he had a good understanding of the, some of the creation details, at least. I wonder where he would have gotten that from.
Right.
Well, yeah. So what do we got here, Sean? Highlighted.
So we got the whole thing, basically. There's more inserted. There's more words and actual text inserted.
Yeah.
And then you have what it actually says is very different.
Yeah. The first line stands out to me. Does it to you?
Yes, it does.
Yeah. I mean, it's quite a bit different than the Masoretic text. We have the ancient heavens shall flow. And as Sean and I have hopefully just made emphasis on in our channels that the heavens is the name for the firmament. And that's Genesis 1, 6-8, right? We get that declared to us from the beginning in Genesis.
That's right.
And so we have the ancient heavens or firmaments shall flow, and the clouds shall overshadow innumerable mortals. So we have structures being mentioned.
That's right.
As opposed to nothing in the Masoretic text. We just have clouds that drop and distill upon men. What else do we have here?
I was trying to pull up one of your trying to pull this up real quick. So just in a picture of the ancient heavens.
Yeah, that would be
this
Mr.
is taken
West
off of
Blaze.
Well, it's actually UN West Blaze.
Yeah,
this is your artwork as a base foundation. He added some text in boxes, but yeah, that's the ancient heavens will flow. So if according to the second heaven that actually holds the water, so what do you think it means by the ancient heavens will flow?
They must have water. I assume that there's more water than just what's above our heads, but
probably so. Yeah. Well, we know Enoch saw.
There's river. Yeah, exactly. There's rivers. There's waters that are flowing because there are mountains and trees and other land masses and everything just above us. So I mean, it just for it to say the ancient heavens shall flow. I mean, that would make sense, especially when you're looking on screen here and we got other layers above us, other floors above us that have river systems and seas and everything else that are flowing.
I also makes me wonder if it possibly is talking about the Revelation 21, 1-3, where it says, and I saw the new heavens, new earth, and there was no more sea, because the New Jerusalem was descending down. So it seems like, I mean, from my understanding of the idea of from testimony of Levi, chapter 3, verse 3-5, and Revelation 21, 1-3, it seems like the sea that poured down on the flood from Genesis 7:11 is actually partially drained at the flood, and at the second coming, when the New Jerusalem descends, it's going to actually be fully drained away, so that there's a refashioned first heaven that we see. So it'd be very different. So it makes me wonder, if there's no more water up there, then what would we be able to see when we look up?
Well, yeah, I know. I've wondered about how, if the waters are still above, as the psalmist talks about, and was it the prayer of Azariah also mentions that there's still waters above the heavens, right? And this is in a post-flood context. Where are these waters going? If the heavens are rolling back like a scroll to accommodate Yeshua and his myriads of holy warrior angels coming down with him, as well as a massive 1,500 mile squared land structure called the Kingdom of God, where's the water going? Is it falling down like in the days of the deluge? I don't think. There's no
we know there's
to that,
right? And he's not going to flood the earth again. So there's clearly, I would suggest, they're being drained into some other cavity or some other part of the firmament.
Outside of the firmament, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Outside of it, somewhere outside of the enclosed area where we live, for sure. And it could be in one of these other levels that are around us. Yeah. To contain it. So that'd be interesting. But yeah,
But
that would just be crazy, because then it wouldn't be darkness it wouldn't be a dark pool of water above us when you look up above. I imagine the sun, that could be why it talks about the sun shining brighter. If there's that barrier of water that's missing between us and the sun at that point. Yeah, I'm just speculating here. Sorry.
yeah, no, it's cool to think about. It would actually be really neat to make a visual representation of the return of Messiah while all this stuff is happening, right? Just
Yeah.
That'd be really cool to do. Hopefully one day we can get to that, something like that.
But yeah, in the same regards of him mentioning the ancient heavens, which is above us, he also mentions this unique concept about the cattle knowing their rest. I think that's interesting to me, because it's like, you've ever heard of how they've documented the beavers rest on Sabbath?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
So do cattle do that too? We just haven't noticed. But do cattle even work? Like, what do cattle do that we consider work?
Yeah, it'd be interesting to analyze that one day. Just look at all of them. But Sean, so the last part here, or the measure. So, and though one should understand the outspreading of the clouds, or the measure of his tabernacle.
Yeah, that is huge.
That's different than or the noise of his tabernacle, right?
That's
in the Masoretic text. So
yeah, that's huge, because to me, that is Jubilees 32. Yeah, where Jacob gets the tablets of heaven. He has an angelic vision, and he wants to build the tabernacle of God. And the angel has to tell him, no, stop. You're not the dude to build it, and you're not going to build it here. So,
yeah.
So if that was a couple hundred years before the days of Job, and Jacob was still living in the land of, Hebron and that whole area of Bethel and that whole concept, is it possible they had, that word spread and teachings spread to people that were being discipled in the ways of Yahweh, to the point where now Job even has that kind of information?
Yeah, I mean,
or Elihu to
plausible.
Be referencing this kind of stuff.
Very plausible. I mean, yeah. You have to think, like, where is he getting this information from?
Yeah,
right. I mean, he's not just conjuring it up in his discourse here with Job. He has some knowledge from somewhere.
That's right. Yeah. In fact, at the beginning of his introduction, I'm pretty sure he brags about his knowledge. I think our next one is Job 38, 4 and 7.
Okay, so I'll read the Masoretic text. It says, "Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth?" So now this is Yahweh speaking, guys. Where were you? Obviously, where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Declare if you have understanding. Who has laid the measures thereof, if you know, or who has stretched the line upon it? Whereupon are the foundations thereof fastened? Or who laid the cornerstone thereof, when the morning stars sang together, and all the sons of God shouted for joy?
The Septuagint reads, "Where were you when I founded the earth? Tell me now if you have knowledge. Who set the measures of it, if you know? Or who stretched a line upon it? Or what are its rings fastened? And who is he that laid the cornerstone upon it? When the stars were made, all my angels praised me with a loud voice." Okay. Very interesting.
Okay, so it sounds very similar, and I just want to point out that, I know we have here highlighted, all my angels praised me with a loud voice, whereas the Masoretic text says all the sons of God shouted for joy. Mm-hmm. That's very similar, because the sons of God is a reference used for the angelic brethren above, right, Sean?
It is, but that's, in my opinion, that's the conclusion of people that are being honest with the text. Unfortunately, Ken, there's a lot of people, even in major seminaries, specifically in the Baptist Theological Seminary, that refuse to acknowledge that the use of the term sons of God, which in the Hebrew is Benah Elohim, they refuse to acknowledge that that's referring to angels. Mm-hmm. And they actually will try to convince their seminary students that the references in Job 1 and 2, also here in Job 38, as well as in Genesis chapter 6, verses 1 through 4, they try to tell them that those are just men being referenced as sons of God. Yeah. So no, the ancient Greek translators, who were Hebrew, by the way, the ancient Greek Hebrew men who spoke Hebrew and Greek and translated the Hebrew into Greek in approximately the 3rd century BC, they knew the difference, and they call them angels in the Septuagint.
Yeah, I mean, there's no ambiguity here with the Septuagint version, which is interesting, because as I note in one of my videos on, I think it's the firmaments of heaven, and creation days 1 to 3, I think it's called. Mm-hmm. We don't know when the angels are created, right? We're not
Right.
told. This is an interesting little tidbit of information to have, because here it says, when the stars were made, all my angels praised me with a loud voice. So that indicates that the angels were at least created before the stars, whereas Jubilees, it just flat out tells us, right?
Yeah.
Day number
Yeah.
1.
Yeah.
All the spirits, all the angels, and it lists all the classifications. So very, very interesting stuff, brother. So
Oh, you meant to say Jubilees 2-1. 2,
yeah.
2, 1, and 2. Yeah, that it basically tells you the angels were created on day 1.
What did I say? Job?
You just said Jubilees 1. So if I just sorry,
Oh, okay.
slight correction.
I thought I said Jubilees too. Okay. No, thank you for that.
Or maybe I misheard you. My bad. But either way, I just hopefully the listener is clear. If you it's not in the Masoretic text. I know we covered Jubilees 1 and 2 in season 2, but we didn't make it much further past that. We're going to get back to Jubilees in the future, but as you can hear us already referencing, you could probably tell our opinion on Jubilees. So it's just got so much in there that is literally easily verified with the Masoretic, and in this case, it's just another validation of Jubilees, even to help us understand why Job would be making this claim, or why God's making this claim in Job 38.
Right. Absolutely. So, Sean, on what are its rings fastened exactly?
Yeah, this is fascinating, right? Because I just imagine like this massive pre-made world, in Genesis 1, like where he's going to lay the foundations down on day 1 before day 2 even. So it's just like these massive rings that come down, because you remember he looks upon the circle of the earth. So it's like if the earth itself was fashioned inside the foundations, and if they're in a circular fashion and they're like laid down where these firmament layers are being dropped, then that would be the ring, in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly. I actually made a little
let me put this back on screen.
Yeah, put that back up. So the rings, as you guys can see on screen there, we've got, they're displayed in color because it's supposed to, parallel the rainbow. In our opinion, we think that the 7 colors of the rainbow is just kind of giving us a little hint at how many firmament layers there are. But so what Sean is saying essentially is, you see where the bottom of each firmament in the rainbow structure you see there hits the pillars of heaven. That's kind of like where the rings of each firmament would lay on the foundation, right? And I just want to put this out here. This is just what my mind came up with when reading all the text regarding biblical cosmology. The rings could literally be like a ring, right? Like a circular flat ring that's built on top. So I don't. Sorry,
or even like an upside down bowl, whose the lip of the bowl is like a big ring. You know? So there's a wide variety of ways to look at it. But
this is a, what do they call it? Like a frontal sagittal splicing of view here.
Right.
So
it's just a side profile.
Right. So if as Sean said, if you were to see this whole thing in like a 360-degree fashion, you would see it would be like bowls essentially.
Right. Yeah, the Lord sits above the circle of the earth, so therefore the firmaments are circular.
Yeah.
So anyway, hopefully that's a decent visual for folks.
Yeah.
But that's a fascinating little passage there. And Job 38:24.
By what way is the light parted, which scatters the east wind upon the earth?
The Septuagint says, from which place proceeds the frost, or from which place is the south wind dispersed over the whole world under heaven?
So that's quite different.
Yeah, it's quite different.
It's referring to what we were just talking about, essentially the structure itself. Like, where are these things coming from? Which place?
Yep. And this knowledge, by the way, the answers to this particular question is in the book of Enoch, where he talks about the 12 different gates from the east, the west, the north, and the south, and they blow different things. And one of them, I think it's from the north, that blows the frost.
Yeah.
And I can't remember what chapter that is in the Enoch. It's like Enoch 82 or something.
Yeah, and in Enoch, it also talks about how there was an angel over the frost, over the snow.
Right. The same thing with Jubilees 2 too. Yep.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. So it's crazy. We got to get a hold of these books, you guys. That it gives you so much more information on these other entities that were created on day 1.
Yeah. And of course, there's also another lovely mention of the whole world under heaven, which I think is just fascinating. But that's the biblical cosmologist in me.
Yeah.